Hello, gents, non-binary people. Romie Mojo here. Please like, comment, subscribe. Oh, parts 3 and 4, i.e., our parts. All right, road to 9,000. Please again like, comment, subscribe. This woman right here, this woman, wow. Everything that she went through and talked about in the final 2 parts, I was like, okay, this is things I was looking for. Now, yes, let's just point out the obvious. It sounds like with her divorce, separation, however it's structured, with her last husband, that there was an NDA. So that's why we didn't see the. Well, I mean, she of course would protect the image of her child regardless, but we were definitely seeing that child, and that's why we all we heard at one point was a blip was she is happily married to her husband and they're expecting their first child together. And that was it. Because Janet does not need any more issues and she deserves to not have to deal with any more issues. So we'll go back. Renee. Renee apparently developed a pill issue, a pain medication issue, and abusing pain medication. And so that is what Janet was saying would ultimately change his behavior enough to where she was like, I can't deal with this anymore. There were already obviously signs, but she couldn't deal with it anymore. So had to dip out from that. And I was like, yikes. We're going to go through her relationships first. Jermaine Dupri. She really loved Jermaine Dupri. And I said, oh, I feel so bad because ultimately their schedules, their lifestyles, them living in 2 separate areas, separate parts of the country, it was not going to work because neither of them was budging. I'm filling in some more information you may not know. Neither of them was budging on where they're going to live and how they're going to, pursue their careers and lifestyles. So because of that, that was the ultimate factor, even though of course, Jermaine cheated on Janet. And at least he was honest with the fact that, look, even though he was this big producer, him being Janet Jackson's boyfriend brought in a lot of women around him that probably normally wouldn't have been as thirsty as they would have, or will. Let's just call it is. So, yeah, it became a candy shop and he enjoyed every piece. Like, and then Janet, again, going through so much and so resilient. Before we're gonna jump around. Death of her brother, the villainization of Michael Jackson. Let's start with that. The villainization of Michael Jackson and how that affected her in general. She already was still, even though she was breaking certain records that Michael wasn't even breaking, people were still talking about how, oh, Janet Jackson is Michael Jackson's sister, and always asking about Michael. And then once the court cases started, oh, then it never stopped to a certain degree. And speaking of those court cases, and then him settling, of course, no matter what, whether you did something or not, when you settle, it makes people think that, oh, you just want this to go away because you did it. That's what people think when they hear, oh, someone settled. A lot of people sometimes will just settle just because they're like, I can't deal with the stress. I can't deal with everything involved with this. So you can decide what you believe and what you don't. That's not what I'm here for. What I'm here for is to talk about how this woman was negatively affected by this. And when they recorded Scream, when they arranged Scream, recorded Scream, poor Janet, because she was saying how obviously with everything going on with Michael, their dynamic changed. It went from, oh, we think as thieves to basically we're just kind of co-workers. And then it became even worse because the record label wouldn't allow Michael to really interact with anyone else. And so they recorded on separate lots and separate times. They were never doing it together. And she was just like, ever since then, things were different. And I was like, dang, because that was her. Oh, that was her. Anyway, one of the things that Janet also had to deal with, which we know, is the Super Bowl. Now, again, like everyone's been saying, it was an accident. It was not meant to be a tearaway and expose herself. But let's be clear. the blackballing that Janet Jackson received was due to the fact that Michael Jackson's name was being vilified due to the allegations. If those allegations were around, trust and believe that they would not have gone after her the way that they did. And the lack of support she received would not have been the case if it wasn't for the stuff that already happened with Michael. And I believe that 110%. You don't have to convince me. It's obvious. It's like 1 + 1 is 2. It's one of those things where, again, guilty by association. And she had a Coca-Cola deal, because we know Michael had a Pepsi deal. She had a Coca-Cola deal that was going to rival Michael's Pepsi deal, probably be even bigger. And first off, I was like, why is Renee there? Anyway, and that fell through because that as soon as they were about to sign the dotted line, that's when the original allegations came out against Michael. I was like, oh my gosh, why is this happening? But Janet remained strong, career was flourishing. The Super Bowl, relationships were but here goes Super Bowl, here goes Mr. Timberlake, here goes Janet taking all the blame. And because the media wasn't focusing on Justin Timberlake, which, by the way, the reason why Justin Timberlake was even there was because Justin Timberlake, or maybe it was NSYNC, was opening up for Janet Jackson on her tour. And so then, it's the Super Bowl. They want to cater to as many audiences as possible. This living legend was not enough for them, apparently, supposedly. So, and it was like, oh yeah, Justin, come on. Which makes sense, because Justin was brought in literally, I need to stop saying the word literally, within the 11th hour. And you could tell, because now that I looked back at the performance, I was like, yeah, Justin doesn't seem as prepared as he should be. And also was like, dude, what is this? And so it makes a lot more sense now. But then Janet says that Justin did reach out to her, and he was conflicted about should he say something, should he not? And she said to not say anything. I'm saying I believe that happened. I 100% believe that happened. I'm telling you that I wish it was handled differently. But that was the past, and hopefully other people just learn from that and understand that Janet Jackson getting exposed on national television and how that changed so many things, and the blackballing that she received and all of that. Shout out to Tyler Perry, by the way. Shout out to Tyler Perry, because even though we got on Tyler Perry for a lot of things, he supports his people. He supports us, and that needs to be commended. Now, the way how he supports us, that can be you know what? Where am I going with this? Him putting her in Why Did I Get Married, that did help re-put her out there. And it was, again, around the time where people were slowly coming back to openly support Janet. The black community went nowhere. The international community went nowhere. But America, it's a different animal. Okay? Ooh. Now, her true fans went nowhere. But everyone else that was just kind of there, oof. Dang. Like, gosh, the momentum. Her streak of having number one after number one after number one after number one. Like, dang. Because, just knocked the air out. But again, this woman's resilient, passionate, strong, driven. Her music also stands test of time because she willingly talked about subject matters that weren't necessarily talked about as much in pop music. She's a true treasure. And I'm just like, I actually went to the State of the World tour, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was my first time seeing Janet Jackson. Oh, I hope I didn't already say this, but her losing her father during that tour, that was an interesting experience. I was like, oh wow, like the energy, but she killed it. She did her thing. Her finally going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I know they're renaming it. That's why I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what name it is right now. But it's all these things that we're like, of course. Like, why wouldn't she? 1 + 1 = 2. Well, not to everyone. Not to everyone. That's another subject for another day. But yeah, I'm glad that she's still here because there's so many people that have had other trials, struggles, and they're not here. They're not here. I'm glad that she's still here. I'm glad she's still inspiring. I love when they show the clip of the different artists that were just saying how much they love Janet, inspired by Janet, specifically uh, actors, you name it. And it was just showing the power that she has and the influence she still has today. And I did not forget about Regina King saying that Tupac and Janet definitely had a lot more chemistry than Janet wanted to acknowledge. I said, Jada's not going to be happy about that. Let me stop. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. Like, comment, subscribe. Road to 9,000. Check out my other past videos, reactions, TV show recaps, rants, you name it. And I'll see you next time. You'll see me. Let's go.